team after the game about the worst defensive performance in New York City basketball history, he may have been right. But I will say this, very, very impressed by the scoring acumen of both teams. And if they can shore up their defenses, both teams will make a run and march. And I mean a deep one.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Another sport like the NBA, which is dealing with its own, scandals, so to speak, and its own headlines with the FBI and what else comes, because this is the same FBI team that also brought the NBA scandals to light. So I'd have to imagine they're working on some other stuff as well right now, and the timing is definitely not a coincidence, but definitely some very significant news in the gambling world that now you're not going to be able to bet more than $200 on a specific pitch market.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Detroit's going to be a top 6 team in the East. And they're going to be extremely dangerous. And it may be fun to watching that Central Division between Detroit and Cleveland. Kind of makes you think back to the old early 2000s with LeBron and obviously the Chauncey Billups-led Detroit team. But Detroit basketball is back.
Pro basketball today, only on Sport.
Happy Monday. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, back after a very exciting football weekend in both college and pro football. We'll break everything down for you here on the show. In addition, we've got our SportsGrid insider, Adam Kaplan, some major injuries around the National Football League. We'll tell you how long for some quarterbacks in the NFL, some potential changes coming as well. Vinny Iyer will join us, courtesy of Sporting News. We'll also dive into the latest in terms of futures odds with Jacob Kamaker from Sporting News. Our very own Joe Ranieri weighs in on everything as well. Also, some sports betting news right here at the top of the show involving the prediction markets. In case you missed it, last Tuesday, Prize Picks announced a multi-year contract with Polymarket to offer event contracts, including on sports and on its app at a future time. On Friday, after we left you here, it was announced that a multi-year partnership, Kalshi and Prize Picks, immediately began offering prediction markets in 38 states, plus DC, including sports markets in 15 states. So Kalshi, Prize Picks are together. Now they're offering 3 different products: player picks, team picks, and culture picks. You may be wondering, what are culture picks? I was wondering the same thing myself. That's event contracts that mark Prize Picks expansion beyond sports into current events and pop culture, including music, movies, and politics. You can make predictions on these things. Also, some really good news in the world of sports television and streaming. YouTube TV got their Disney back. ESPN Unlimited is back on YouTube TV, no extra charge. You could watch all of the games this weekend in college football. I'm sure that you know that. Also, watch Monday Night Football coming up as well. Big news from the National Football League in terms of injuries. One quarterback potentially missing the remainder of the season. It is Michael Penix of the Atlanta Falcons, a season-ending potential injury to his knee. They'll make it official later today. According to ESPN, Kirk Cousins will take over. Falcons lost to the Panthers for the second time this season on Sunday. Last night, much ado about another dull game with the Philadelphia Eagles. They just play good defense and score enough to win. 16-9, the final score. Yeah, that's right. 6-6 at the half, 16-9. This game went under the total, and Jared Goff had a tough time playing outdoors once again. Here's Nick Sirianni picking up the defensive win yesterday.
Make no mistake about it, our goal in every single game is to come out with a win, period. right? And so sometimes the game's played a little bit differently in that, and we were able to get a 10-point lead, and so every game is played to win. But do we have to clean up things on offense? Of course we do. We're gonna have to clean up as good as the defense played. We're gonna have to clean up things on defense. As good as the special teams played, we're gonna have to clean up things on special teams.
Felt like we were getting a rhythm after that second quarter. We started, we hit those explosives, went down. J-Mo scores touchdown, and it felt like, all right, here we go. But just couldn't ever really get in a rhythm offensively. There's some calls I wish I could have gotten back. I didn't help those guys, and I hate that. I didn't help them. So, but that was kind of the story of the game.
Battle of the AFC West apparently is going to the Denver Broncos. They beat the Chiefs yesterday. They'll play them once again. It may not mean anything at this point, as Denver's opened up a 4-game lead. The Broncos win another late game, 22-19, the final, come back and win. Chiefs were favored in this one, total 44.5. Of course, this one went under the total. Here's Sean Payton on picking up the win.
Obviously, good team win against a good team. Obviously, big divisional game playing at home. I thought our fans were outstanding. It felt loud to me, and I say this respectfully for the first time since I've been here, like really loud. And I think that helped. We did a lot of things well. Special teams came up. Frank Crum gets a PAT block. Field position, I felt like we played on their end of the field. And one of the keys we felt, these guys have really all season, the last 4 weeks, have really been flipping the script and playing on the opponent's side of the field.
Sean Payton, of course, coming off a victory, now looks toward next week. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills pick up their own win. Josh Allen rushed for 3 touchdowns. The Bills take out the Bucs 44-32. Slow start, good finish, says Josh Allen.
After that first quarter, it was really fun. Obviously, want to start better. Boneheaded decision down there. I got fooled in the protection, slid it the wrong way, and didn't give ourselves a chance down there, but I'm glad of how our defense responded. They only let up 3 there. Obviously, would love to convert on 4th down. I thought we made some plays tonight. I feel like I missed a few throws too that I don't normally miss, and something that we can improve on for sure.
Actually, at what point today did you kind of realize this was going to be the day when you were going to have to score a lot of points to win?
I think at the end of the first quarter, just the way things were going, just knowing that we were going to have to put our hard hats on and go to work. And, I thought we made some plays today.
We'll get an update on Aaron Rodgers of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He left the game yesterday against the Bengals in a 34-12 win with a left wrist injury, although they didn't really need him yesterday. Mason Rudolph did a good job for them. And the Ravens get back to 5-5, and they pick up a win against the Browns in a closer game than they expected. Dylan Gabriel left this game. Shedeur Sanders came in and mopped up at the end of the game and didn't do very well. All right, also speaking of not very well, what went on with the Seattle Seahawks yesterday? Sam Darnold threw 4 interceptions as they lose to the Rams 21-19. They did line up for a 60-yard field goal at the end, and they ended up losing. Sean McVay says good win, still a lot to learn from.
And then, man, what a great opportunity for us to be able to learn some things offensively. We started off the game, thought we started off pretty well, ended up only having 3 plays in the second quarter, had some things that we can really learn from in terms of early down efficiency. You get behind the sticks against a great defense like that, but we're never going to apologize for finding ways to be able to win. This is a resilient group. Love what I saw from our defense. I thought special teams made their plays and did an excellent job, with the 5 times that we did have to punt, and there's going to be some learning opportunities that we can have, but I'm grateful to be a part of this team. I love the way that they just stay connected. They stay together. They're never out of the fight. And, defense and special teams did an excellent job and made enough plays offensively. I thought Kyron ran really well. Started off the game, then we kind of got into a lull, had some guys kind of get banged up, but it's a great defense. They did a great job, and we'll learn from it and take it from there.
49ers keep pace, by the way, with the Rams. Brock Purdy came back yesterday. Christian McCaffrey scored 3 times 41-22 win over the Arizona Cardinals. In the game, Jacoby Brissett broke the all-time completion record with 47 completions in this game in the loss. The Bears beat the Vikings in Minnesota 19-17 on a game-winning 48-yard field goal. And the Packers survive in the Meadowlands. They hold on to beat Jameis Winston and the Giants. Final score 27-20. Meanwhile, the biggest surprise in terms of points yesterday, probably the way of the Jacksonville Jaguars. They explode for 35 points against the Chargers. 35-6 the final. Jacksonville picks up the win as an underdog. Texans survive the Titans. They come back to win 16-13 on a field goal. And speaking of which, how about Bryce Young and his Carolina Panthers? They now, as I mentioned, beat the Falcons twice this season. 448 yards, a career high for Bryce Young. Panthers beat the Falcons by 3. Dolphins in Madrid, first game ever played there. A little bit of a snoozer. They pick up the win in overtime at 16-13. All right, in news in the National Basketball Association, guess what? Guess who's back? LeBron James, the future Hall of Famer, is going to practice, maybe play with the Lakers in the next 7 to 10 days. We'll see if that happens soon. A signing in the offseason in Major League Baseball. What do you know? 5-year contract given to Josh Naylor. He's back with the Seattle Mariners. And also it's possible that James Franklin could be the next head coach at Virginia Tech. They're talking, and word is by the end of the week, maybe he has a new contract with the Hokies. Coming up next, we'll bring in Vinny Iyer from Sporting News to dive into the latest in the National Football League. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid on this Monday, and we'll be right back after this. Don't go away.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league, going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show, Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Vinny Iyer with us, courtesy of Sporting News. Lots of news to get to, by the way, here in the NFL these days. Jets look like they're making a quarterback change here, and of course, a lot of other teams as well. We'll get to the Jets here in a minute because, naturally they don't mean as much, sorry, than other teams in the NFL, just being honest. All right, last night, 2 teams, Vinny, chasing a Super Bowl. First, they got to chase the NFC. I don't even know if this is a preview at this point. Got to say I'm disappointed in the way that the Lions have played couple times this season, especially last night. Eagles win 16-9, And Philadelphia does, I guess, what they do best, which is sort of put you to sleep on defense, do just enough on offense. And this has been their recipe for success this season. I mean, Vinny, I don't know that this is a Super Bowl recipe, by the way. I'm going to guess at some point you got to score 3 touchdowns in a game to win. But for the time being, the wins are piling up.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles' defense is coming together. Their trade deadline acquisition of Jalen Phillips really paid off last night. He was a big factor in the game. The Lions were once attached to Phillips, so that probably hurt a little extra in that game. And look, Jared Goff and the Colts, the biggest thing is if you contain the Lions' running game, you have a really good chance to beat them because that puts a lot of pressure on Jared Goff to deliver downfield plays without the help of play action. And you saw that. I mean, the best play they had all night was throwing to Jahmyr Gibbs, and that was it. I mean, the pressure was there all night against Goff. And look, they get a home game back against the Giants. We know they're going to crush teams like the Giants and Commanders and just blow out teams that have bad defenses. That's fine, but you got to do it in outdoor situations and tougher situations. We saw it in week 1 all the way back there against the Packers. When they face a tough defense in the elements on the road, they typically lose. The good news for them is they only have one more, quote, outdoor game because their 2 road games before week 18, I should say, are against the Rams, which is going to be favorable, and the Vikings, and then they get the Bears in week 18. That could end up now being what determines the NFC North title. So they're in good shape. They got road games that they can manage and a lot of home games coming up. So I think the Lions can still go on a surge here and win this division with the Bears and Packers kind of having a tough year down the stretch.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about A.J. Brown here for a minute before we move on. And look, things are going well for Philadelphia, so it doesn't really matter, Vinny. But Brown had just 1 target in this game. I'm sorry, 1 reception in this game, and it was a long one, so I guess that this will sort of slide by. Do you think that this is like one of those marriages that can't be broken, and they're just trying to stay together until the end of the season? Because I feel like in order for the Eagles to go far, they're going to have to get more out of these receivers, no?
Yeah, I mean, it's not a good sign when Jahan Dotson is your best wide receiver. When you've got Devonta Smith and A.J. Brown, you got a lot of money invested in both of these guys, by the way. Devonta Smith didn't show up and make a catch until the 4th quarter. So you got to get these guys involved more in the offense early. And I think that's a mistake that they're making. They're trying to grind things out. I know they're enamored with the tush push, but maybe they shouldn't be as much, right? Like start to open things up, throw it, maybe get into some rhythm there, then open up your running game, which has been struggling to make those big runs with Saquon Barkley. So your running game needs the help of stretching the field more effectively. I know the connection has been off with Jalen Hurts, and the coverage has often been tight on Brown or Smith, but you got to keep taking those shots to make teams respect your running game a little bit more and open things up. So I think they'll adjust. They'll continue to evolve here. Maybe it's a get-well game they need this week against Dallas's defense on the road. So maybe that'll help before they get into the stretch run.
Packers pick up a win. Wasn't as easy as they wanted it to be, but 27-20 the final. They also lost Josh Jacobs in this game, and Emmanuel Wilson came in and did a really nice job for them. But, Winston didn't really do much in this one. I guess a little disappointing for him. He only, I think he ran in 1 touchdown, if I'm not mistaken here. But look, Packers, Vinny, at this point are going to take any win they can, right? Like this has not been the season they thought they were going to have.
Yeah, and it's still not totally lost, right? I mean, they can get going here. And that's the funny thing about the NFC right now. I mean, you look at the Eagles and the Bears being near the top. I mean, the only team that really totally impresses you right now is the Rams, right? Week to week. Everyone else just has some bad moments. They're not always winning in dominant fashion. So I think the Packers needed that for Jordan Love's confidence to make that comeback happen, making some big throws when Jacobs was not in the game against the Giants. So hopefully that carries over to them with the Vikings coming in. The Vikings, look, they're probably going to be stuck playing spoiler the rest of the year. They're not going to be a factor to try to get in the playoffs out of the NFC North or even challenge these teams that are ahead of them. But they're a dangerous team, right? When you see them on the schedule, the Lions know that. They lost to them at home a couple weeks ago. The Bears avoided that trap. So the Packers need to avoid that trap as well. They're the better team. They got the defense to really fluster J.J. McCarthy. So Jordan Love has to continue to play well now, especially if Jacobs is out for a while.
Yeah, would agree. And we'll see. They're saying that maybe it could be just a week or two for Jacobs. Meanwhile, the Bears beat the Vikings. And Bears, by the way, just beating everybody who's in front of them at this point and are in a position to finish ahead of the Vikings this season. Caleb Williams, 16 of 32, 193 yards. Swift was good on the ground for them. And on the flip side, I mean, they're saying basically to give J.J. McCarthy more time. But Vinny, I don't know. Like, is the development just going to be the rest of this season? Because I don't think the Vikings are going far with him.
Yeah, I mean, they have to see what they have the rest of the season. He has to show some marked signs of improvement here because it hasn't been improving. He's been in this system for a while. There's no more excuses. He's got all his receivers back and healthy. The offensive line is helping him out. The running game is showing up at times, so there's no more excuses. This is one of the best offensive systems in the NFL with Kevin O'Connell. So it's not like New York City, but if you can't make it here, you can't make it anywhere. So I think if he's not very good here this season, they really have to think about alternate plans of quarterback even as early as 2026.
Yes, I would agree. Cowboys Raiders tonight, Vinny. Any opinion on this one? Dallas minus 3.5. It's going to get good viewership because it is the Cowboys. And by the way, the Raiders do usually well on TV as well and streaming. They're 3.5-point favorites. Hard for me to lay anything with Dallas. I'm just going to keep it real there. So either a Raider or pass for me.
Yeah, I do like the Cowboys. I think they'll be very emotional. They're coming off the bye. They lost one of their own there in Marshawn Nealon. So I think their defense is going to be inspired. They also added Quinnen Williams to that defense. So we'll see what factor he can be here. But when I look at it, I think the Cowboys, this is going to be a lot like a Dallas home game in Las Vegas. So I'm taking the Cowboys tonight all the way.
All right, fair enough, Vinny. Thanks for coming on.
All right.
Be right back.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Lots of news from the National Football League. Could we be seeing a potential suspension coming from a player in the NFL? We'll see. There is a spitting situation, as they say. In addition, we'll also get the latest on how the Chiefs are feeling about potentially not winning the division and Sam Darnold throwing 4 picks against the Rams. Time now for the SportsGrid at Sound Off. Let's start off with Jamar Chase. What exactly did he do on the field yesterday? Nobody knows for sure. It does appear as though he may have spit on a player yesterday. That's what everyone is saying. It's what the video indicates. But again, we'll let the National Football League dive into it. Steelers beat the Bengals. It wasn't particularly close. Chase seemingly upset with something that Jalen Ramsey had to say. There's two sides to every story, so let's get both. First from Ramsey and then Chase.
But the refs told us right there, like, hey, y'all chill, no more of this. Cool, so, I'm knowing, like, all right, no more, let's talk, let's keep it clean so everybody staying in, whatever. The next play, we was talking for real, which I'm cool with. And then, yeah, as soon as he spit, I ain't gonna tolerate that part of it, so.
Did you spit on him? Did you spit on him?
I ain't never opened my mouth to that guy.
What do you think prompted the reaction from him?
Well, he don't like some of the words I told him. We've been going back and forth the whole time, so I'm sure some got under his skin.
So it was built the whole game. It just wasn't on that drive.
The first time we had a altercation, and then it was the second time.
Is that the first time in your career anybody's ever punched you in a game?
You see me get punched?
It looked like he threw a punch.
So just to be clear, you did not spit on him at all. That's what you're saying.
I ain't spit on nobody.
See what the National Football League has to say about all of it. Meanwhile, it's clear cut. The Kansas City Chiefs are not having a great year, okay? See, it's fair to say. Offensively, defensively, special teams, for whatever reason, the Chiefs look like mortals. They lost yesterday to the Denver Broncos 22-19. They're a 500 team now, 5-5 on the season. Here's Patrick Mahomes on the outcome yesterday.
The end of the game and not coming through, getting the ball back with 4 minutes, and all you need is a field goal is a spot that we've been in a lot, and we've been able to do that. But obviously the first play, I tried to get a completion to Trav, but probably should just hang in there, and I think Hollywood would have opened up down the field. So just being better in that scenario. I mean, there's hit things here and there, but I think that's the biggest one. That's what you want. You want to get that opportunity at the end of the game, and we didn't. I didn't come through. Obviously, it's going to be tough to get back in the division race, but at the end of the day, all the goal is to get into the playoffs and try to make a run at it. And all you can focus on is next week. We got to learn from this one as much as possible, knowing that we're going to get a great opponent coming into Arrowhead this next week. And we're kind of at that point where we got to find a way just to win football games, and got to keep moving forward. That's what this league's all about.
Meanwhile, it was a tough day for Sam Darnold of the Seattle Seahawks. If tough is throwing a couple picks, what is 4 picks in an NFL game? That's not good. Here's Darnold after doing so against the Rams in a key divisional matchup.
Yeah, obviously a tough one today. I felt like, despite the turnovers, we moved the ball. We just couldn't finish in the red zone. I think that was a big thing today. And then, obviously, like I said, can't turn the ball over as much as I did today. I'll learn from it, watch the tape, grow from it. Got to give credit to, the Rams. Obviously, they're a really good defense, really good team. But I got to be better personally. And I know we'll bounce back and learn and grow from this one. Yeah, they do a good job of disguising shell and all those things. I feel like, a lot of defenses do the same thing. I feel like, they're their pass rush, their linebackers, their safeties, just being all on the same page and playing really good football. They do it at a high level. They seem like really smart players. So, but again, I just, those are self-inflicted wounds, turn the ball over like that. And sometimes, it's better just to try to throw the ball away or even take a sack when nothing's there.
In the NFL, looks like the Justin Fields starting era in New York is over. The Jets making the announcement they are turning the ball over to Tyrod Taylor as their starting quarterback, and also great offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles, Lane Johnson, who they usually don't win without. Looks like he has an injury, could potentially miss this coming week. Josh Jacobs of the Packers, by the way, with a knee injury, said to be okay, could play this coming week. All right, we'll dive into that and a whole lot more with Jacob Kamaker of Sporting News next. Don't go away.
where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish, joined by Jacob Kamaker of USA Today as we dive into the very latest going on in the National Football League. Jacob, great to have you back here on the show. And boy, let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens yesterday. They certainly got all they could handle from the Cleveland Browns. 23-16 the final. Great game for Derrick Henry. The big story in this one, probably on the Cleveland side, is Dylan Gabriel injured in this one. He goes down. Shedeur Sanders finally got into the game here, but I guess the big takeaway here is Ravens stay alive, and on the flip side, Shedeur Sanders, a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I think as far as Shedeur is concerned, this is a tough scenario for any young quarterback being thrown in mid-game against what's a much better Baltimore defense than it was early in the season because they're healthier. So, the stat line, obviously you're seeing on the screen right now, not very good. 4 of 16 passing. He had an interception. He had a couple of sacks. He didn't look overly comfortable in the pocket. But I think if he has to start this week, he'll have a better shot at maybe executing the game plan. We're going to be able to evaluate him a little bit better based on if he has a full week to prepare instead of just being kind of thrown into the fire against a good Ravens team that, as you mentioned, they're right back in the thick of things all of a sudden. After the 1-5 start, they've gotten healthy. Lamar didn't have his best game against Cleveland, but Derrick Henry's got a little more juice than he did early in the season, it seems. And like I mentioned, that defense just coming back together, getting healthier, and just causing problems and disrupting opposing offenses. If they can continue to play like that on defense, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry give them enough on offense to really compete with anyone. So I'm excited to see if they can get back into that division race one. And if not, they're going to be a part of that crowded AFC wildcard race that could really go any direction at this point.
Derrick Henry, 18 carries, 103 yards, a touchdown. As Jacob mentioned, that was the positive from Baltimore, but they really didn't do much offensively beyond that. And Sanders, 4 of 16, 68 yards. And as long as he gets a little bit more playing time, I would imagine he'll play a little bit better, will Shedeur Sanders. All right, so the Steelers beat the Bengals relatively easily yesterday, and the story really coming out of that is twofold. On the side of the Steelers, it's will Aaron Rodgers be able to play next week with a wrist injury? And on the side of the Bengals, Jacob, as I'm sure that you've looked at this video many times, I'm not really sure if Jamar Chase did what everyone is alleging he said he did, which is spit on another player. If he did, he's going to miss time for the Bengals as well.
Yeah, I think this second edition of Spitgate, after we had Jalen Carter and Dak Prescott in week 1, where Dak Prescott spit at the ground. Jalen Carter thought he was spitting at him, so he spit at Dak. He got ejected. They treated that as a one-game suspension, basically. So what's going to happen with Jamar Chase if they do rule that he spit in the video and the Bengals are going to be without him? It's going to be really hard for them to get a win next week against the Patriots. And, they're already facing a massive uphill battle to get anywhere near the playoff race without Joe Burrow. So it feels like the Bengals season is probably winding down, and the only excitement they have to look forward to is Burrow potentially returning as early as Thanksgiving. But we'll see if they end up sticking to that timeline if, they're completely out of it. As for the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers' injury will be intriguing to watch. Sounds like he has a small fracture in his non-throwing wrist, so he might be able to play through that if he can grip the ball well enough. But it's one of those things where if you're the Steelers, do you really want a 41-year-old quarterback out there with a balky wrist trying to will you to the playoffs? I'm not sure I would trust him. I'd rather see him on the sideline for a couple weeks just to get a little bit healthier. We saw Mason Rudolph is capable of keeping that offense afloat. And let's be honest, Aaron Rodgers hasn't been all that explosive this year. He's been a good dink and dunk distributor, but Mason Rudolph can certainly do what Rodgers can do at this point in his career. And as long as he can avoid turnovers, then the Steelers should have a chance to win games if Rodgers needs to be sidelined. So I'll be interested to see what approach they take with Rodgers, if he'll push to play. But I think the Steelers will be okay if he's out short term. If he's out long term, it's going to be harder for them to probably make any sort of noise in the playoffs than it already would be.
Yeah, would agree. And by the way, the AFC North, very, very crowded at this point. Steelers plus 250, Ravens minus 280. And you can see that the Ravens are a game behind. They still have 2 games left coming up in November and December. Meanwhile, surprise result, I would say, yesterday, Jacob, between the Chargers and Jaguars. Any team can win in the NFL, so maybe it's not a surprise that the Jaguars would beat the Chargers, but to do this 35-6, as I thought the Jaguars, after they lost to Houston, they were left for dead on the season, but man, they played fantastic yesterday and have now put themselves right back into the playoff mix again. In fact, they're favored, Jacob, to make the playoffs, probably the biggest win of the season.
Yeah, this was an impressive all-around showing from the Jaguars. A lot of people, they thought the Jaguars could win this game, but the Chargers, I believe, were slight favorites, with people saying, hey, Justin Herbert could probably keep this offense going. But the Jaguars defense stepped up in a big way. They did not let Herbert get comfortable at any point during the game. The Chargers couldn't run the ball. They played ball denial on the outside. Quentin Johnston didn't get a single catch. So the Jaguars just found a way to completely disrupt Herbert in a way that we haven't seen this year. And I think this was a good reminder that the Jaguars, when they're fully healthy on defense, this unit has been typically very good this season. I know a lot of people were probably scarred going into last week after they gave up 26 points in the fourth quarter, Davis and Texans, but they might have just taken their foot off the gas in a game they thought they should have won. That happens in the NFL sometimes, but this is a good reminder that, hey, this team has a good defense and their power running game is coming along. Unfortunately, Bashal Tutin, who was having a great game, came up with an ankle injury, so we don't know exactly what his status going forward was, but he provided that running game a spark and really allowed Travis Etienne to complement him a little bit. So if they have those two guys and can play ball control on offense and really strong defense, Jaguars might be able to make the playoffs and maybe win a game or two.
Right now, 9.5 is the win total available on FanDuel. They're minus 180, as Jacob mentioned, to make the playoffs because of the strength of the win that they had yesterday. Meanwhile, no strength for the Houston Texans. They're putting everybody to sleep and winning games. They beat the Tennessee Titans yesterday. Another close game, Jacob, and Davis Mills. I mean, honestly, you could say he's kind of 2-0 as a starter. Cam Ward still having a tough time. Boy, Tennessee is having one miserable season. Some close games, but not a lot to show for it.
Yeah, Tennessee is just kind of a miserable team to watch right now, to be completely honest with you, Craig. Calvin Ridley came back from injury for his first game this past weekend, and then he immediately broke his fibula and is now expected to miss the rest of the season. That kind of just sums up what's gone on with the Tennessee offense. They got Cam Ward hoping he'd provide them a spark, but absolutely nothing around him has come together at all. Their blocking isn't very good. Their receiving weapons, they have some decent young players, but Calvin Ridley not staying healthy has really impacted them there. So the Titans, you just cannot expect much from them the rest of the season. They're going to have to really fortify the roster during the offseason and find a new coach to kind of lead them into this next era with Cam Ward. But I think the Texans have been impressive in a weird way. As you mentioned, they're not maybe the most exciting team to watch offensively, but that defense just finds ways to keep this team in the game. And Davis Mills, to his credit, he has been able to keep the Texans in games despite falling behind early, and he's just been efficient as a backup. And that's really all you can ask for. Because when CJ Stroud went down with the concussion, I don't think a lot of people thought, oh, the Texans are going to beat the Jaguars and the Titans. Not that it was easy, but Davis Mills going 2-0 as your backup quarterback to keep you afloat in that playoff race, that's huge for the Texans. So, credit to them for being able to deal with that. But, hey, are we going to be able to see Davis Mills do this again? Or will CJ Stroud be back? I think the Texans will be hoping Stroud will be back because that'll give them a little more explosion on offense.
Yeah, I would agree. Any position tonight, Monday Night Football, Jacob? You want to take a shot at this one?
Yeah, I think my lean is on the Cowboys right now. I don't always feel great about that. They're, I believe, favored by about 3.5, but I just think their offense is going to come together tonight, and they're getting some key personnel back on defense, plus their trade deadline acquisitions. So I think they'll be able to get some pressure, rattle Geno Smith a bit, and get a win in Las Vegas.
Love to see it, and I would think that tonight could be the biggest win of the season if they could go on the road and do it, but I don't know. Can't trust Dallas, Jacob, at any point. Thanks again for coming on the show. We'll catch up again next week.
All right. Thanks, Craig. Take care.
We'll be right back.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Calci.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Let's check in with Joe Ranieri from SportsGrid to go over some of the latest results in the National Football League. Joe, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Some dogs barking on Sunday. We'll get to that here in just a minute. Do you think, as we start, that the end of the era is here for the Kansas City Chiefs? I can't really rule them out of anything because I know that just when we think that that's it, they generally bounce back, but it just doesn't seem to be happening this year. Denver beats them 22-19. The Chiefs are 5-5. I don't think they're going to win the division. They certainly could jump in as a wild card and go deep. But do you see anything different with them this year? Does it appear different to you?
Well, I think the negative regression is the thing that stuck out the most to me, Craig, especially when you look at last year, the simple fact that they went 11-0 or 12-0 in one-score games last year. And so far this year, they're 0-5. They have not won one of those one-score games. They won them all last year. And heck, go back even a year prior to that, nobody's had a better record in one-score games than Kansas City. And now, we all know that levels out as time goes on, but they have won the AFC West with Andy Reid for every year since 2016. I mean, at some point, there had to be somebody else to step up. And Denver, for whatever reason, Kansas City has always struggled in Denver. Not so much at Arrowhead, but definitely in Denver. I still question that Denver offense a little bit, but there is no questioning that all the breaks the Kansas City Chiefs seem to have gotten from the football gods over the last couple of years, they don't seem to be getting many of them this year, sitting at 5-5.
Yeah, they're still minus 220 to make the playoffs, but you see some backing on maybe taking plus on the other side at some point. Their win total 10.5. They almost have to run the table to get to 12 wins. Maybe getting 11 is a possibility. Win the West plus 490, win the Super Bowl 10-1. Okay, Buffalo Bills come back with a big win, 44-32 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's right, 76 points scored in this one. Josh Allen jumping back into that MVP conversation. It is Josh Allen, it is Drake May, it is Matthew Stafford. But when Allen is healthy and running right, everything going well. But the Bills, generally, Joe, have had their own issues too this season. I certainly see them making the playoffs and in a better spot probably than Kansas City. I'm just not so sure how far they can go either.
Well, they're going to go as far as Josh Allen and the offense brings them because that defense is atrocious. I mean, they gave up over 200 yards on the ground again yesterday. To the Tampa Bay Bucks, 202 rushing yards they had. They averaged over 5 yards a carry. 8 times in 10 games, that Bills defense has allowed 100 or more yards on the ground, which means if you're going to have any success in the postseason or moving forward here, Craig, you're going to need Josh Allen to play like that every week. I mean, that is a huge ask. And for a weekend that was filled with championship quality defenses, the Bills showed, hey, we can beat pretty good defenses with a really good offense. And that's how they're going to have to do it from this point forward. Because that defense, there ain't nobody walking through that door to help them get any better down the stretch here.
No, I can't imagine that, playing against the Colts or another one of these teams that can really run the ball, they could have an issue in the playoffs. All right, the Rams really put the stranglehold on the NFC West with their win last week over the 49ers, and now they did the same thing, Joe, to the Seattle Seahawks, who really were given every opportunity to come back and win this game. But Sam Darnold just did not have a good one here. 4 interceptions in this one after they attempted a really long field goal and came up short. The Rams appear to be the front runner for the NFC West. I still think 3 teams could easily get in this division. But if Darnold is going to do this once every 2 or 3 games, Joe, he's not going to go very far.
Well, and obviously the blueprint on how to mess with Sam Darnold is alive and well, and it's play a lot of nickel and dime. Throw 5 defensive backs there, 6 defensive backs there, and you get what you got yesterday from Sam Darnold. Now, the thing is, not a lot of teams have the defensive personnel to be able to do that, but my goodness, Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator for the Rams, the job he is doing this year, I mean, we're talking about now a 5-game winning streak, and this guy is he's going to be one of these hot new coordinators coming up, but the Rams have held 3 of their last 4 opponents under 20 yards. I mean, they rank 2nd in the league in points allowed. As good as that defense was for Seattle, and it's very good, the Rams, they're just that much better at the quarterback position and the defensive side of the ball. So the Rams clearly are the ones that should be talked about as possibly somebody that could go toe-to-toe with Philadelphia's defense and do some damage.
Great point. And Stafford right now, plus 135 to win the NFL's MVP, followed by May, and then Josh Allen. And then you're throwing your money away if you're betting on anybody else, because it's going to be one of those 3 folks. All right, 49ers That was like one of those picks I suspected was going to go the way of San Francisco. I just couldn't understand how there was just so much love. I like Jacoby Brissett, and he's a good guy and everything, and a good backup quarterback. But what was everyone saying about the Arizona? That all of a sudden they're going to be good. Their season is over. The 49ers put them away yesterday, 41-22. McCaffrey had 3 touchdowns, and with all the injuries in the NFL, Joe, McCaffrey's been the healthy guy this year. He's been the one that is there. I see 3 teams making it in that division. I think San Francisco now rolls from here.
Yeah, I thought maybe the over was the easiest play of the day yesterday because San Francisco has always played well in Arizona, and Brock Purdy looked like he hadn't missed a step, but quietly they're getting awfully healthy, the 49ers, and the schedule, Craig, in their favor to run the table the rest of the way. And you're right, 3 teams could be coming from that NFC West.
All right, I've had 2 guests on the show, Joe. They both took Dallas -3.5 tonight. Do you want to take that leap also? Really? Blowout in Vegas? Yeah.
If there's one thing that we know about Dak Prescott and the Cowboys is they love beating up sub-500 teams. And that's exactly what you have tonight in the Raiders is a bad under 500 team. Dak will have his way, and so will this new-look defense. Finally, having some pieces back in the fold. Should be fun to watch Geno throw 3 interceptions.
All right, Joe, enjoy the game, man. Catch up again soon. Thanks again.
You got it. Enjoy.
All right, Joe Ranieri here with us. Coming up next, we take a closer look at college football with Rich Sermonillo. Don't go away.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circa Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Another wild week of college football, especially between South Carolina and Texas A&M. Did you catch that game on Saturday? South Carolina opens up a 27-point lead. Texas A&M comes all the way back to win the game. I mean, incredible. And by the way, Texas A&M, in order to get a first-round bye in the college football playoff, absolutely needed that game. So while that could have been the biggest upset of the week, it then went to Alabama, who lost to Oklahoma, as the Crimson Tide couldn't get anything going on offense, and now the Sooners have put themselves right in the thick of the college football potential national championship. Still a long way to go in the college football season. So for that and a better explanation as to everything that happened this past week in college football, we're going to check in with Rich Sermonillo, who gives us a breakdown as to what happened in week 12 of college football. But don't despair, because we've got another big week coming in week 13, and then everything, sort of gets wrapped up next week, folks. Thanksgiving is almost here. So for all of the previews, news, notes, and information, let's go to Rich Sermonillo, who has a preview of the upcoming week 13 in college football, diving into what happened with all of the top teams, and also takes a brief look as to what we could potentially expect. Let's also not forget that tomorrow the new rankings will come out in college football, so we'll see who's actually chasing down some of those final college football playoff spots. Here's Rich Sermonillo with a recap.
Hey, Craig, another weekend of college football in the books. I think it's a good time to talk about the college football playoff. Just 2 weeks left in the regular season, 12-team playoff almost upon us. So who's in, who's out, what are the big games in week 13? Now let's go conference by conference. First off, ACC, wide open. We still have 4 or 5 teams competing for that championship. It looks like, unlike last year, ACC will get 1 team as of right now. Could be Georgia Tech, could be Virginia, SMU, Pitt still in the mix. 1 team in all likelihood for the ACC. Big 12, same situation. Texas Tech, clear front runner. By far the heavy betting favorite right now, and for good reason. They have swept through the Big 12 schedule for the most part, including a big win over BYU. I think Big 12 gets 1 team. Now, Notre Dame, they've got those 2 early losses. They have steamrolled through the competition. Jeremiah Love looking like a Heisman candidate. Big win last weekend, Craig, against Pitt. Notre Dame win 2 more over Syracuse and Stanford, and you're in. You've got the G5, wide open, group of 5, American champ. Again, another conference that could be a toss-up. North Texas, Tulane in the mix. But keep an eye on the Sun Belt's James Madison. They are a wrecking ball right now. Just beat Appalachian State 58-10. Washington State this weekend visiting JMU. They're in the mix. So we've got those 4 teams. It leaves 8 spots. Obviously, the 2 big conferences, Big Ten and SEC. The way I see it splitting right now, because of Oklahoma's upset of Alabama in Tuscaloosa, I think as of today, Craig, 3 Big Ten teams, Indiana, Ohio State locked in. That 3rd spot's going to be very interesting this weekend because Oregon faces USC. Oregon wins, they're in. USC wins, 2-loss USC, Lincoln Riley, Jaden Mayava. If they upset Oregon, and I don't expect it because it's up in Oregon, USC could fill one of those at-large spots. I think Big Ten gets 3. And again, just to reiterate, because Oklahoma beat Alabama, Craig, right now I have 5 teams from the SEC making the playoff. The obvious ones, A&M, undefeated, big comeback against South Carolina last week. Georgia, Alabama still in, Oklahoma and Ole Miss. Those are your 12 teams. The bubble teams, who's going to be watching these final 2 weekends and rooting for a loss? Yeah, Auburn could beat Alabama. Oklahoma could lose one of the next 2 games. They have Missouri this week. They have LSU in the finale. The 3 teams that I'm looking at as bubble teams, BYU and Utah out of the Big 12. And Miami. Miami was rooting hard for Pitt last week to beat Notre Dame. Didn't happen. Miami Hurricanes at 10-2 might be just on the cusp and missing out. So big games this weekend in terms of the playoffs. We already talked about Oregon and USC. Missouri against Oklahoma. BYU travels to Cincinnati. And then the big one in the wide open ACC, Pittsburgh going to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech right now favored alongside Virginia in the ACC. It's going to be a wild dash to these final 12 teams, just 2 weekends left in the regular season in college football.
the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. And here's what I would encourage everyone to do. If you follow the National Football League, this segment is for you. If not, maybe not. I would encourage those of you who are watching to take a deep breath here because we have a lot to unpack before we even get to any of the results and what the future may hold in the National Football League. It's an unusual week as we bring in Adam Kaplan, our SportsGrid NFL insider, because of the amount of the sheer injuries in the NFL. Every week this happens, but so much happening today in particular, we thought that this is where we would start. So it appears to me, Adam, we have at the very minimum 3 quarterback questions based on injuries yesterday, and maybe a 4th on play, depending on how you see it. But Adam, I got already Aaron Rodgers being hurt, Michael Penix being hurt, Dylan Gabriel being hurt, and the Jets making a change at quarterback. If we're setting the over-under at 3.5 new quarterbacks this week, we may have to go over. That's crazy from one week to the next.
Yeah. Now let's start with Aaron Rodgers, right? He has a left wrist injury, right? He's a right-handed thrower. For him to get cleared to play this week with the fracture, he's got to be able to protect himself. That's the biggest thing. And they have to know that he can, and he can't get cleared to play until he can do that. So for those people thinking he might be able to play, he's got to get cleared medically. He's got to be able to move. So that Mason Rudolph is the backup. Actually, by the way, he's a pretty good backup. He's exactly, Craig, what you want. Talking to people who've scouted him, he comes in typically as that guy you want for 3 or 4 games. And it can handle it. But then the longer he plays, the more he looks like a backup. The good backups typically get exposed at some point over 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. But you can get out of a tough spot for 3 to 4 games. And Kenny Gainwell, who signed over from Philly, he had a great game yesterday. I mean, he kind of saved that game for them. He's their third down back, pass protection back, great at it. But he did a great job. By the way, for fantasy, he's a big reason why Caleb Johnson's been a non-factor. Gainwell's been a great story for the Steelers.
Yeah, he has. All right, so Aaron Rodgers with the left wrist. We got the news this morning that the development season for Michael Penix Jr. has come to a completion. Yeah. And Falcons, by the way, Adam, massively disappointing season with or without Penix. Yep. I mean, losing twice to a team in Carolina who they figured they were ahead of in development. They're officially behind them now. Raheem Morris has got to be in some trouble here based on the results. And again, losing those 2 division games to the team that's closest to you regionally in Carolina. And now Kirk Cousins will get a shot to play for his future, correct?
Yeah, I mean, look, the situation with Penix is it's the same knee. He had a bone bruise earlier this season, and then he re-injured it worse. And this obviously is devastating for them in terms of his development. You're absolutely right. This is his first full year as a starter, and you expected better results. He was kind of up and down. He looked like a young quarterback that needs a lot of work. But the thing is, and you mentioned Raheem Morris and the football team being disappointing. With all that Terry Fontenot, the GM, has done for their offense, Kyle Pitts, we know he's disappointed people in the fantasy world from day one, kind of, but he's never lived up to the hype. Talented player, it just doesn't happen. They've had some offensive line injuries. There's no question about it. They have a very good running game. There's no doubt about that, but the passing game should be better. And that's with Zach Robinson, that's what they're expecting come over from the McVay coaching tree. It hasn't happened. It's been wildly inconsistent. Defensively, they've been more up and down. The defense has not been bad, but offensively, they should be much better. And it's kind of disappointing. And you and I were talking off the air. Kirk Cousins should be a bigger factor and be ready to play a little bit better than he's looked. I know it's not easy to come off the bench, folks. Trust me, I've talked to quarterbacks about it. Mentally, for a guy who started his whole career to be a backup and then have to come off the bench, it's really, really tough. But it's Kirk Cousins' show right now. And look, they'd almost have to win out to be a wild card team. It's hard to imagine that could happen. But it's just, this has been, if you and I grade it, give us our top 5 most disappointing teams. The Falcons by far in my top 3.
Yeah, I would say so. Also, I should mention, I even completely let this one go. Drake London is going to be out this week, and he's been one of the best receivers of the NFL. So get ready for maybe Kyle Pitts. We've been saying that for years. I'm not going to go down that road again. I honestly don't know who the Falcons are going to throw to and Kirk Cousins too.
By the way, Darnell Mooney, who played well last season, he's had hamstring problems this season.
You're right, he's been hurt.
That's the guy. I would say Pitts, no question about it, and Mooney should be the guys going forward here. And obviously a little bit more Bijan Robinson in the pass game. I mean, just start flanking him out a little bit more.
Yeah, it's been a disaster. Okay, so now to the Browns, who nobody really cares about. They're down to quarterback 3, 4, 5. I'm not sure where this is at. Shedeur Sanders came in. I was watching this when it happened. He made one really nice pass, and everything else was running around. And unfortunately for him, I got to tell you, I would be fading the Browns if he started this week. No disrespect to him. I think he'll get it going eventually. But all signs right now are pointing toward him starting this week, correct?
Yeah, he needs to start because they need to see how he does. Handling all the number 1 practice reps for 3 days, plus the walkthrough. He needs to get those reps. It's hard for a guy. By the way, you can say whatever you want about where he should have been drafted. He was a 5th-round pick. Guys who are 3rd-day picks need reps, especially. And he needs to get those first-team reps and get it going. Now, you're right. Like, he started 2 for 2, then it faded. He also made a couple nice throws to Harold Fannin, the rookie tight end from Bowling Green. But overall, he just needs the reps. Think about it. I know he was the number 2 quarterback, but number 2 quarterbacks, Craig, rarely get first-team reps, and it showed yesterday.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, definitely so. Okay, so I think we hit on all the quarterbacks. Now, there's a change with the Jets. Do we need to do more than 30 seconds on this? Does it matter that Tyrod Taylor is going to be the quarterback? I mean, this is the signal to just say, hey, it ain't working. Let's try to pretend like we're going to win here, but the goal is number 1 pick, correct? That's it?
Well, yeah. I mean, they've got all these picks. Mr. Muji, the general manager, has got a ton of them. He's got a ton of high-round picks from trading away a lot of superstars. But, yeah, look, Tyrod Taylor is a guy that, talking to people who've coached him, he's not going to turn it over much. He's a very careful thrower. He can run around a little bit. Very coachable, good person. Does things the right way, but he's very limited as a passer. And the receiver corps is beat up physically. They don't have much. And the problem is with all these defensive players being traded, obviously about Gardner and Quinton Williams, they just don't have enough talent. And they play. The only way I don't know how they've won 2 games is they have to win low scoring games. And by the way, Justin Fields in his contract, $10 million fully guaranteed next season. That signing did not work out.
No, definitely not. Okay, so the last injury I think I'll hit on, you'll tell me if I missed anything, is the big one with the Packers. Now, I know what they're reporting today, and I also have been around sports long enough to know generally if there's a sliver of good news, that's what they give you from a PR perspective. Josh Jacobs, who's been one of the best running backs in the NFL this season, maybe not Jonathan Taylor or Christian McCaffrey. I get that, but still an underrated player that the Packers need. Emmanuel Wilson is their backup. He won a job a couple of years ago out of camp. Doesn't really catch passes, I don't think, out of the backfield, but he would be the starter. Would there be a big drop-off? And do you think this week they would just give Jacobs off to say, hey, look, get healthy and come back? What do you think?
No, it's a legit knee injury. It is legitimately week to week. When you say that, that means the guy's not playing this week and he'll be evaluated in the following week to see how he is through the treatment for the knee injury. Yeah, that's a bad one. Not having him. Emmanuel Wilson, who's been a really good story, coming kind of out of nowhere. It really started last year in Brazil against the Eagles, where he rarely worked. And Lloyd, remember the draft pick, he's barely played for them. He's been hurt for the first two seasons. So, yeah, he's going to get the rock. The Packers, man, we're going to talk more about them in the second segment. They're on my disappointing list. Look, reality's kind of hit them. They're 6-3-1. They barely won this game. But, hey, they got to feel good that they did.
Yeah. All right. So let's do this with Adam. We'll take a break and come back and then talk about one of the non-skill position injuries in the NFL, which, by the way, could potentially affect things more than you think. All you have to do is take a look at the record with Lane Johnson and without Lane Johnson in Philadelphia. Speaks volumes. The Eagles win again. Adam Kaplan rejoins us, our SportsGrid insider, when we come back here on this Monday edition of NewsWire. Don't go away.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
The 35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all three Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. When Lane Johnson retires, he's going to be 4 years away from entering the National Football League's Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's been one of the very best offensive linemen in a time period where, Adam, you don't think a lineman, especially not a tackle, would even really mean that much sometime. I know he's been shuffling back and forth on the offensive line through the years. But Lane Johnson's record with Philadelphia is like one of the best in the history of the NFL as an offensive lineman. And when he doesn't play, they lose, they stink. And Lane Johnson got hurt in that big win yesterday that the Eagles had in another dud primetime game against the Detroit Lions. So look, the Eagles are due. I can't believe that they're winning games like this, which is basically not scoring at all and not giving the ball to their wide receivers. But I guess I should really give Sirianni and Howie this credit here, because it just doesn't matter what they do. They just keep finding different ways to win. I don't know if that's a Super Bowl win coming, but they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be among the top. They're going to be hosting games. But let's get the latest on Lane Johnson here, and hopefully for him, he's back soon.
Fracture he once. So it's basically a midfoot injury. Former Eagles first-round pick Mike Mamula told me he had it. That actually ended his career when he had the fracture. That's when the midfoot separates. What Lane Johnson had is the sprain. It's typically a midfoot sprain, could be in the 4 to 6 week area, Craig. He's going to get a second opinion, as I understand it. They're lucky that it's not season-ending, but it's not good. Now, what's interesting is Howie Roseman, the GM, he traded for, and this is a good thing, he reacquired Fred Johnson from the Jets. He was with them last year. He was their top backup tackle last year, and they got him back from the Jaguars for a 7th-round pick, and they're very lucky they got him back. He's done a good job when asked to play. He's been basically their 6th lineman. When they go with their jumbo package, he's the first guy in as that 6th lineman to help for the run game. But, yeah, this is a big one. So Johnson will fill in until Johnson gets cleared to play. And, look, that's a big one. Also, we need to mention this. We don't know exactly what the injury is. Cam Jurgens, their center, who had just come back from a knee injury, he had back surgery after the Super Bowl. He got hurt late. He didn't come back. He saw Brett Toth come in. Unfortunately, when Toth was in there, they missed that push play on a 4th and 1. So they could potentially be without 2 of their linemen. It's tough, man. Now they'll play at Dallas this Sunday, but that's a tough deal. But I give them credit. I give them credit for winning that game. And the Lions, they did their best to hang in there. But the bottom line is, the Eagles have set themselves up really well. They have actually just about every tiebreaker, by the way, with all those great wins that they've had. But they've got some injuries that are definitely concerning.
Yeah, it would be tough, I think, for the Eagles to think that they would go to Los Angeles and beat the Rams. That would be my concern, because the Rams right now appear to be playing as good as any team in the NFL. You have them at the top of your circle of trust list, along with the Eagles, the Patriots. That does surprise me that you have them there so high, and the Colts, who had the week off. They're 8-2, and they've played great football.
All right, so here's why I have the Rams #1 over the Eagles. I know the Rams choked a 19-point lead in Philly very early. Since then, the Rams have been lights out. But the one issue that the Rams have is that they're very small up front. And we're talking about their defensive line. Athletic, great, talented, great scheme, by the way, by Chris Shula. But they're small up front. The Eagles have dominated them really since Nick Sirianni's been there. Now, why do I have the Patriots at #3 right now? They are on a winning streak, a big one. They're well rested. They've got not only did they come off of the mini bye, they've got a bye coming up soon. They're the biggest shock. I didn't see this. In fact, I'll admit it. When I saw the over/under total of 8.5, I'm like, there's no way they'll go over the total. They're already over it. I just didn't see it. And great coaching, and they beat everybody. That win at Tampa a couple weeks ago showed me something. Remember we talked about that Rams game when the Colts went there. Colts didn't have to win the game. They got to play respectable football, and they did. Getting to the Colts, who are coming off their bye, as long as Daniel Jones does not pull Sam Darnold, starts turning the ball over a lot, they're my circle of trust. But the Seahawks, by the way, they're out.
Yeah, they
7 turnovers in 2 weeks. That's unacceptable. You can't do that.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, just embarrassing.
Can't.
It can't happen.
And look, it may get it turned around. We'll see. But Seattle, to me, and they could have won that game easily yesterday. A few more yards, they kick a field goal and win.
Yep.
Okay, so the Broncos now have 9 wins because they beat the Chiefs. You're not buying them. For those of you who remember last year, Adam and I had a fun back and forth over Washington. That was my pick to go all the way. Adam almost had to give me a dinner of that. This year, we didn't bet a dinner, but my team was the Jaguars. And the Jaguars, out of nowhere yesterday, just destroyed the Chargers. Oh, my gosh. If the Jaguars just hang on to beat Houston, I mean, they could end up with 11, 12 wins this season. I'm not getting off Jacksonville. There's no reason for me to do it. I'm just going to just stick with them and assume that they're playing Saturday. Yeah. Listen, they're going to play Saturday at 4:30. They're going to be on the road. They're going to play against Denver or somebody like that, and they're going to win. Yeah. They're going to go in that
defense, Craig. Denver's defense is phenomenal. I don't know how they're doing this because their offense is, despite they're very talented. I know Dobbins is out for the year, but man, the thing is they're playing like Philly in offense. They're just finding a way to win because their defense is so dominant. But here's the problem with the Jaguars. Okay, that awful choke. I know that's a great win for the over the Chargers.
It was terrible.
The Chargers, the way one person explained to me, maybe they had the emotional high of beating Pittsburgh at home, travel 3 time zones. But what I don't like about the Chargers is they left on Friday, okay? To get adjusted, they got their doors blown off. That was an embarrassing performance. And we're not used to this with Jim Harbaugh because he's a phenomenal head coach. But
right.
And by the way, the Panthers, I give them credit. Bryce Young played phenomenal football yesterday. I don't know where this game came from, but good for him. But overall, man, they're offensively challenged. You never know when these are going to come with Bryce Young, but he did play great. Great win.
Yeah, I mean, your circle of trust is
getting smaller, brother.
Is very short, and I mean, we are going to be in for the craziest NFL playoffs I think of all time. I really do. I think some crazy team is headed to the Super Bowl this year that we don't expect. All right, Adam, that's as great as a breakdown as we're ever going to get here on NewsWire. Thanks again for coming on the show. Really appreciate it.
Got it.
All right, let's take a quick time out. When we come back next, it's time for us to dive into what happened at Kyle Field at Texas A&M, a police officer getting a little bit too frisky with one of the players. Also, looks like Jake Paul has found a new opponent after Davis backed out. He's got a new heavyweight fight coming up. And also LaMelo Ball, story about him as well. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. When we come back, if we have any breaking news in the NFL, we'll give it to you. Otherwise, we'll just get ready to wrap up the show. Don't go away.
Where are the wins coming from? And yes, I agree. Are they good enough to win those games? Yeah, of course they are, right? But the reality of this team is not very good this year in one-score games. They're not. That was their bread and butter a year ago. Like every win last year, one-score game, the Chiefs found a way to win it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
35 cents, though, for yes on Ohio State.
Yeah.
I like that, Donnie. I think there's value in that right now because we only got, 3 weeks left to go. Then we'll have conference championships. Yeah, the more they keep winning, and they will win, the more that will increase, and that's a pretty good return on an investment there with Kalshi.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
A little bit of a brand crisis when it comes to the league going from 54 to 72. Although I think it can help some players, I think it kind of hurts the brand of the league and what it kind of stood for, the innovation, the loudness, the different aspects of the game, the whole shotgun aspect, which makes it different. But is it better for these guys when they show up in majors?
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
Football contest season is back, and so is the Las Vegas Football Contest Show. Season 2, the sharpest football contest show in the land. Focusing on all 3 Circus Sports contests and the Westgate Superbook Super Contest, we handicap the games and release our contest picks every week of the season. Featuring Super Contest champions Brady Cannon, James Salinas, and former NFL player Mike Pritchard, all team will have you prepared this season like none other. Check us out every weekend right here on SportsGrid.
So much NFL, we haven't really had a chance to dive into some of the wacky things that happened in college football on Saturday, so we'll do that here. Also, an updated fight in Miami for Jake Paul, and also the story about LaMelo Ball is kind of fascinating. So let's dive into this and a whole lot more as we wrap up our show on this very busy Monday with some last licks. I think it's fair to say that this was the story that went the most viral in college football this weekend. Is that fair to say, Frank? Do you think? I think it is. So at Texas A&M, they played South Carolina this past week. It was, arguably one of the best games of the year in college football. It was a great finish. A&M came all the way back after really struggling in the first half. And when they came out for the second half, this was really strange. A wide receiver was running out on the field, and it appeared that a uniformed officer, I don't know if he meant to hit him with his shoulder, like to give him a body check as he ran out, but they ended up making contact. And then the state trooper, after making contact, went and pointed at the player, and almost as if he was like challenging him, like he was doing the wrong thing. So A&M said that this trooper who made the contact with the player during Saturday's game has been relieved of his game day duties, so he's no longer going to be there. It was very weird. He just like bounced this player on South Carolina, and then all of a sudden, everybody was like watching this, wondering how it could potentially happen. So the good news here is they've taken charge over this, and he's not going to be around anymore. But how this could even happen on the football field or even in the tunnel remains to be seen. Okay, so Jake Paul was supposed to fight Gervonta Davis here in South Florida this month. I believe it was next week, Thanksgiving week, but because Davis has been involved in so many different legal issues, they had to postpone the fight. I will say this for Jake Paul. He promised that he would find somebody else to fight at the Kaseya Center in Miami coming up in December, and he did. But the surprise here is that it's going to be a heavyweight and former heavyweight champion Anthony Joshua who is going to end up fighting Jake Paul. But there's a lot of different restrictions and some notes here that are interesting to pass on. Now, it's going to be on Netflix, which is what he promised, so that's going to happen. It's going to be a scrimmage, and they're also going to use different gloves in this fight to make sure it sounds like that Jake Paul doesn't get hurt. That's just honestly what it sounds like here. 8 3-minute rounds. The gloves are 10 ounces. And Anthony Joshua weighs like 250 pounds, so I'm not really sure how this is going to end up happening. But this is one of those. Normally, I don't give credit to the Paul brothers, and I give them credit for being great on social media and creating a lot of buzz for the sport. I give him credit for getting in the round with Anthony Joshua. This is not like a Mike Tyson fight when Tyson's 60 years old. Joshua is legitimately and has been a heavyweight boxer and a very good one. So we'll see what ends up happening. But I kind of feel like this is going to be the closest thing that Jake Paul's going to have to just getting beat down. But at least he's going through it. Okay, finally, let's get to LaMelo Ball, NBA player, who reportedly scared the Timberwolves away during the draft process several years ago. Because get this, in the interview, he said he wanted to be the president of the United States. In fact, the T-Wolves had an interview during the process, and they were trying to figure him out, saying, hey, is this guy for real? One of the questions they asked him is, hey, LaMelo, after you're done playing, what do you see yourself doing? And he said, yeah, I want to be the president of the United States. And that's basically why he did not get drafted. And I think this is kind of more about you. Isn't it funny how, if you remember back to all of the Ball brothers, the Lonzo and LaMelo Ball stuff, it was all about LeVar Ball. It kind of disappeared, didn't he? Like, do you really see him anywhere on TV doing anything anymore? But during the time that these kids were getting ready to be drafted and joining the NBA, he was all about it. The dad was very heavily involved in all of that. Okay, that's a great show for today. Very busy here on the program. Thanks again to our guest here, Vinny Iyer of Sporting News. Thanks again to Jacob Kamaker of USA Today. Joe Ranieri for coming on the show, and also our SportsGrid insider, Adam Kaplan. Thanks to him as well. We got a Monday Night Football game tonight between the Dallas Cowboys and Las Vegas Raiders to finish off our week. Here's what I would encourage you to do. Make sure that you catch our shows like Game Time Decisions and In-Game Live for all of the props and picks against the spread, totals, and everything as well. Make sure you catch that. You can also download the SportsGrid app, which is available for iOS and Android. So download the app and you can stream all of our programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thanks again to AJ for filling in for Luke today. And thanks to our producer, Frank. I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. We'll see you back here on Tuesday for our next edition of NewsWire. See you then.